Hey guys, welcome back to the Bucket Think Tank. So instead of our regular comic review, we're going to do something a bit different. We're going to talk about Tom King's run on Batman. And we're going to start with it and sort of breaking it up into segments. So we're going to go with I Am Gotham, I Am Suicide, I Am Bane, The Button, and yeah, we'll just sort of end there with, um, we'll end right before the War of Jokes and Riddles. We're just going to talk about each run, each story, and figure out exactly where, if anything, this went wrong. I Am Gotham, I think, is a really solid story on its own. The story might not have aged well to a lot of people, looking back on exactly how we got to this point where King's gone with the story. But the premise is still really great because the idea is Bruce almost dies. Yeah, he goes out as Batman. There's a plane about to crash, about to kill hundreds of people, actually thousands of people. And Bruce has done everything possible. He's done everything right to the letter of this plan. The problem is, though, he won't survive. It will kill. Like to make sure he can guide the plane safely, he has to stay on there. But the problem is, the impact will kill him. So he tries to call for help. He tries to call anyone that can fly: Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern. None of them are available. Convenient. And he's getting ready to die. Like he talks about, hey, there are letters in the safe for you and the boys. If Duke Thomas wants to continue his training, Dick Grayson will gladly take over. He'll be a much better teacher than I could ever be. And there's all said like, would my parents be proud? And then Gotham and Gotham Girl show up and say, hey, we're here to help save the city. And for Bruce, this is a moment of trepidation, but also secretly of hope. Because, as he himself said, I was prepared to die. And these guys came and did what I couldn't do. So he wants to first figure out who they are. And he finds out within, well, a day, Hank and Claire. And he really wants them to be better heroes. He wants to make them ultimately his replacements. Like, and this is mentioned by one of the people on the plane, in the plane that's crashing. He's like, hey, you know, why did this have to happen in Gotham? Of course, what happened in Gotham when there's no one with any super strength who can fly or anything. There's nothing super about Gotham. That dude was a moron. But it was an interesting point for Bruce, and the question of Bruce's mortality and what he needs after this moment is, I think, a big deal for the book, as well as what I think Tom King wants to try to communicate. So, the story of Gotham and Gotham Girl does not last long, and I made a sort of a video about that, posing the question: is Batman cursed? And that one sort of highlighted the concept that it seems that everything Bruce touched, or everything that the Waynes touch, which is Gotham, and everything that encompasses that, which are superheroes, their lives keep getting worse. And when the Psycho Pirate gets a hold of Hank and Claire and is able to mess with them, make them feel fierce, that they're panicking going around, and Hank's case, at some point becoming violent, even talking about how Gotham City doesn't want to be fixed. Like, we try so hard and it doesn't work. This is when Claire gives us a rundown as to exactly how their powers work. So their powers work with by what they spend. So if they want to spend like an hour of their life, they can be faster than a speeding bullet. And that goes higher and higher. So Hank presumably spends so much that he's able to ragdoll Superman, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, Aquaman, Green Lantern, and the Flash with no real trouble. And it's only when Duke is able to reach Claire that she's able to stop Hank. She has to kill her brother, and by default, she has pretty much a nervous breakdown because killed your brother. And Bruce is able to ring her back in, but the damage is still clearly done, and what they need is a Psycho Pirate. So where's the Psycho Pirate? Well, Batman finds out. Well, he's in Santa Prisca under the control of Bane. So Bruce is like, fine, I'll go to Santa Prisca and get Bane to get the Psycho Pirate. And this is when he assembles his own story. This is when I Am Gotham leads to I Am Suicide. And I Am Suicide is a fun story, but I would say that's when we really start to see the sprinkles of Tom King's problems with the Batman book, at least from my perspective. So the I Am Suicide story is Batman going into Arkham Asylum and pretty much borrowing criminals for this little mission. He's taken Wesker, aka the puppet Scarface's new host, which is I need to look more into Scarface because Scarface is weird. Bronze Tiger, who used to work for the League of Assassins, was also on Venom for a bit, and is, I think, a top tier fighter. He's able to, according to Batman, he's gotten faster since they last fought. Punch and Jewel, low key reality warpers, and from what I've heard, they were supposed to be the replacements for Joker when the Comics Code Authority cracked down. And finally, the real surprise, who we're almost led to think is the Joker for a moment, but it's Selina Kyle, and she's here, and apparently is about to undergo lethal injection later for murdering 35 people. And my question is, wait, we can execute Selina, but not the Joker. Okay. Anyway, the mission to Santa Prisca by itself I think is really good. It shows Batman's competency, it shows exactly how this team works, it shows how important Wesker is to it, how well Bruce understands the nature of the people he's working as well as the nature of Bane. Bane's take on here is really interesting, the fact that he uses the Psychopirate to help him get off Venom, because Venom's very addictive. It's very, like, getting off it is very painful, and for Bane, who we'll go into this a bit more later, is someone who's very vulnerable and very insecure and scared. It sort of serves as a parallel to Batman. This mission looks great. The problem is the letters. So the first two issues of I Am Suicide, on the way to Santa Prisca to go get the Psychopirate, is interesting but at the same time weird. So the first letter is written by Selina Kyle. This is written to Bruce / Batman. She knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman. It's weird because later we're going to find out she always knew, and he's always known she knew. King wants to really play up Selina's competency here. She talks about how different they are and their sort of relationship, how it was like growing up in the orphanage. She grew up in a Wayne family, and the Wayne Foundation orphanage, so she would see the pictures of Thomas and Martha and young Bruce at the orphanage, and to the point where she ran away, and her life in a nutshell, how she viewed herself as a stray to the family, and then she killed the people, like the people she killed, did some really messed up stuff with an orphanage, burned it down apparently, and Selina sort of just reminisces about that, and their relationship. And then we cut to Bruce's letter to Selina, and this letter sort of highlights the beginning of the problem, because one thing King likes to do is take the piss out of Batman, and to be fair, it's pretty easy to do. If you don't have a sense of humor about Batman, I don't know why you'd read superhero comics in general. They're all sort of absurd. That's what makes them good, when they are able to take a jab at themselves. But here we sort of see a sort of tearing down of Bruce's character, and it's not in a bad way. Bruce confiding this in a letter is actually a really great way to do it, to say that ultimately I'm just a scared kid who, is wearing a bat suit, is wearing a bat costume. And to see that how he views himself, I think, is interesting. It's not revolutionary, but on its own, it's really great. But we're going to see this as a problem. The sort of systematic destruction of Bruce's competency and character, depending on who you ask. So the mission's fine, the letters oversell it, and at the end of it all, Bruce is able to get everyone back. Everyone's got a deal on the table. Punch and Jewel, who are a super criminal couple, will now get supervised time together while they're in the asylum. Bronze Tiger will be released elsewhere, presumably to Batman's custody. Wesker's going to go to a finer facility. There is no deal for Selina. She will still be executed because apparently this is the one time Gotham City wants to kill someone who murders 35 people. Of course Joker's still missing now. So why is everyone else still there? Anyway. So that story, for the most part, ends. And what makes that story good is the scale of it. Batman leading a team to Santa Prisca to fight Bane. Bane, who is imposing and spends a lot of time naked. Won't be the first time Bane will be naked in Tom King's run. It's weird. But overall, this was a really great story, at least in my opinion. Then we go to I Am Bane. So after being beaten up while naked and losing presumably his living safety blanket, he's like, you know what? Get me Venom. It's now personal. Which I would say if someone else beat me up naked too. I'm just saying. So Bruce knows that Bane is coming. He's always known Bane is coming. So the question is, what's he going to do about it? Now, within the context of the greater DC universe, at least the greater Batman universe right now, Tim Drake is dead. Put quotations around the word dead. But that has still been weighing on Bruce's mind, so he will not let Dick, Jason, or Damian get involved with the fight with Bane. Like, no, Bane is that kind of threat. He's that dangerous, and he's going to kill Batman. He plans to do it. He plans to kill everyone that gets in his way. So he's not going to risk losing his kids. So he sends them to the Fortress of Solitude, which is weird that he also won't take that he won't take Claire and the Psycho Pirate to the Fortress of Solitude to get this done, because it'll take about 6 days for the Psycho Pirate to undo what he did to Claire and fix her up. So instead of going to the Fortress of Solitude or Themyscira, he holds up an Arkham Asylum. He puts them in Arkham Asylum. He then decides to, enlist the help of the inmates. Like, look, guys, there's a deal on the table for all of you. Most of you. Not you, Zaz. If you'll help me slow Bane down. Don't know how this happened. Don't know how this worked. It's really stupid. But what is fun about it is it's sort of a reverse of the I'm Suicide story, where it was before, where it was Batman going into Bane's territory. Now it's Bane coming into Batman's territory. And if you can view the asylum as Bruce's castle, other castle, he doesn't let people in the Batcave, but he spent a lot of time in the asylum. And we just see Bane just run through Batman's rogues gallery. Scarecrow, Killer Croc, Riddler, of course, we're going to take out Riddler. Maxie Zeus, didn't even know that guy was still around. Mr. Freeze. And he's more like, I am not a clown. I am not a riddle. I am not a crocodile. I am Bane. And it's hilarious and frightening. And a really cool nod from Riddler talking about the war of jokes and riddles. And then the final fight happens. And it's a huge, colossal fight. Pretty much Bane just running Batman through the gutter. And then Bruce has a sort of near-death experience when he talks to Martha. And in King's Run, Bruce's relation with his father was sort of, I never was able to talk to my father. My father was a good man, but he was very controlled and centered with his emotions. He didn't really like to talk about his feelings. He does with his mother. His mother was always there for him, and that's another parallel between Bruce and Bane. When Bane was growing up in Santa Prisca, he would talk to his not mother, because he was born in prison. His mother died in prison, so he's serving his parents' term. Really messed up. So for a while he was trying to survive in that prison, he talked to his mother. And Bruce did that after that of his parents. He would always sort of talk to his mom. Like, his mom was there, he'd talk to her like, yes, mother, I'm almost done reading, mother. It's weird. And Martha sort of talks to Bruce about exactly why he did what he did. The feeling about his mortality. That, he wanted to help Gotham and Gotham to be better heroes because he wanted them to ultimately take his place. And that's why he's still doing it now. And Bruce goes, well, no, now I just want to help Claire. And that's great. Bruce is able to, get back up again. Very Rocky Balboa faction, like, hey, Bane, I didn't hear no bell. And they fight. Bruce gets the win in. And we're all sort of nice. We're all sort of in a good spot, I'd like to think. So then after that, Claire is getting on the mend. We then talk about a story called The Button. Now, The Button was designed as a story to sort of hammer home the idea of something going wrong in the DC universe, which is supposed to tie to the Watchmen and Dr. Manhattan. This story doesn't do a lot, but it does set in a very important character for later, which is Flashpoint Batman. Now, when Bruce meets Flashpoint Batman, his not father, he's able to tell him, like, hey, you have a grandson. Which is weird that he would omit the other kids, but whatever. And one thing Bruce hears Thomas say as they leave is, you need to stop being Batman. Just quit and be a dad to your son. All right? Let Batman die with me. And that leaves an impact on Bruce. And later when he talks to Claire, he talks to her about, what about her future, how she's going to train. And the question Claire asks is like, are you happy, Batman? And Bruce sort of lets it down, like, look, being Batman doesn't make me happy. I'm not Batman because it makes me happy. I'm Batman because I'm Batman. And this sort of, in my opinion, sort of says that Bruce, if you put his happiness to a scale as Batman, he's at a 5. He just is always at a 5 as Batman. And that's neither happy nor unhappy. He just is. And so Claire sort of poses the question, well, you should do something that makes you happy. You should try to be happy. You know, and this has always been a question, I think, numerous Batman writers, whether it be movies, novels, comics. The question is, can Batman be happy? Is he allowed to be happy? You know, no other character in the DC universe, to my mind, feels like they don't enjoy what they do. At the very least, there is some degree of happiness they get from it. Like, Superman's always happy to be Superman. Hal Jordan's happy to be Green Lantern. Wonder Woman's happy, you know. Even Green Arrow, who I don't think should have a reason to be happy, is happy. Martian Manhunter's stoic. But he isn't happy, so maybe he should try to be happy. And that's how this ends, with Bruce realizing what does he want to do to be happy. So he proposes to Catwoman. And and that'll explain later on. But there's no real answer from Selina yet, because before that we have to go into the War of Jokes and Riddles, and this is where we'll end it. So Tom King's first run with Batman is, I think, well-meaning. I think it's well thought out. I think it has one or two hiccups, but I think overall it's a solid first couple of stories. We get a good take on how we view Batman, which is a very competent character. He knows how to play up the, he's Batman bit for some of the impossible stuff, but he also wants to hit to the vulnerability. He wants to hit the man behind the cowl. And we're going to see that he's going to do that quite a bit. But with this story here coming up, we're going to see exactly how he wants to do it. And anyway, with that in mind, we'll bring this video to a close here. If you're new to the Bucket Think Tank, feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe. Check out some other videos, and I will catch you all later. This is the Bucket Think Tank signing off. Thanks for watching, and as always, may your fandom serve you well.